All right. We're live. How we all doing tonight, people? This evening, not nighttime. This evening, how we all doing? You get a few people in, talk a bit about AJ, other boxing news. Got to get review of the week out for tomorrow as well. But it's been such a dead week for boxing this last week. It's not just been me, it's been pretty much everyone on YouTube. There hasn't been many videos rocking about. There's not been that much news coming up. So I said, look, before I do a review of the week, we get a nice little Sunday live in. Because I do want to ask the question, once the chat gets a bit busier, I do want to ask the question about Joshua coming back in 2023. What Eddie Hearn said early 2023. So he said January, February, thereabouts, give or take. But I'm just interested to know, who will he come back with? Robert Garcia, or have my fears come to fruition? Because if you go back and you look at some of the videos that I said with regards to Anthony Joshua going into the USAC rematch, having taken on Robert Garcia. Now, look, I had my reservations about Robert Garcia, Anthony Joshua working with him going into the fight. I really did. I had a lot of reservations because I thought Garcia, yeah, he does tend to train a sort of aggressive style, but he's never worked with heavyweights. And you like to have a trainer who has at least a bit of experience with heavyweights, instead of being, chucked in first heavyweight fight, this massive fight. So I had a few reservations with that. But even though AJ lost to Usyk, I thought he looked pretty good in it. There was definitely improvements there. And I said that one of my biggest fears is that if he loses to Usyk, maybe he won't look and say, okay, look, I lost. He's the better guy, won. But I improved. And that's reason enough to go full tilt with Rob McCracken, maybe base myself in the US. My fear was that he'd stop and think, oh, I lost to him. Should have just stuck with what I knew. Angel Fernandez, trained in Sheffield, and leave it. And I'm worrying, is that what's going to happen now? Because Angel Fernandez, I don't think he's a bad trainer necessarily, but it's a bit like Tunde Ajayi. I think that Tunde isn't a bad trainer, but he's at a certain level as a trainer. And if you're a fighter with him, you're not really going to get past that working with him. You need to change top of Anthony Yard. And I kind of feel like at the minute, that's what I'm seeing with Fernandez. I feel like that's what I'm seeing. So I hope AJ does decide to go back to America and maybe base himself out there. Boris Johnson, he's got no picture. I'll be back. Well, we shall see. My good friend Liz made a mess now to make it worse and blame everyone. Jesus. He's got no pick, so I'm assuming it's not the real Bojo. Evening to Ben, evening to Emerald. Big up. Sam, what's up? How are you, my man? Thoughts on Padraig McCrory last night? Yeah, I seen his fight. He done well. I didn't. I've seen Padraig McCrory for a while now, and I guess that the fight he had a couple of years ago with Steve Collins Jr., where he went life and death with Steve Collins Jr., and he nearly lost. Like, if he didn't get rid of him in that last round, there's a very good chance he could have lost that fight. For me, I looked at that and thought, you're going life and death with Steve Collins. I mean, that says it all. That says it all. So I kind of always looked at that, and you forget that fighters can improve. That was a few years ago. But the saying that he stepped up to light heavy for this fight against, what was it, Leon Ben or something like that his name was. But yeah, his power is he's always had punching power. He's always had punching power. But I thought at a higher level and a higher weight, it might not show. But boy, was I wrong. Great performance. They showed that fight on terrestrial TV in Ireland as well. So there was obviously, which is good because there's a good bit of hype coming back on now. There's a good bit of hype coming back on terrestrial TV in Ireland. So they put on Eric Donovan's show. They put on this show last night. I think they're putting on another show in November. I think the end of November on terrestrial TV here in Ireland. There's a boxing show in Dublin next month, first time in over 3 years. Like early 2019 was the last time they had a show on in Dublin. So there's a good boxing in Ireland is coming back to something. It's getting there. I do think Eddie Hearn needs to put. I think the show Kay Taylor is having this week. he missed the trick, I think, not putting that on in Dublin. And saying that, I don't know the reasons why. Maybe the Tree Arena wasn't available, but I think having a show with Katie Taylor, Gary Cully, Kevin Ajahu, having those guys on a show, on a Matchroom show, because that's mainly where the guys are, that would do wonders for boxing over here. It would do wonders. But yeah, long story short, yeah, he's doing well. He's doing well. I'll give him that. Fair play. Big up G-Man and the whole chat. Smash the like button on the way in. Support the channel. And actually, wouldn't shock me if he's an opponent for Joshua Buatsi next. Wouldn't shock me in the slightest if they look to match him with Joshua Buatsi. Because he's got an IBO title. It's not a world title, but they'll sell it as a world title. If I wouldn't shock me if he gets offered Buatsi next. Would not shock me in the slightest. Big up to Chris. What's up to Taka Milfy? What's up, G-Man? Big up. Big up to MVG. Shout out to you, my man. I hope you're keeping well. Hello, G-Man. Do you think who do you think Demetrius Andre will fight next? I mean, your guess is as good as mine, mate. I really couldn't tell you, to be honest with you. It really does seem like he's in limbo. I knew as soon as I heard the purse bid for the Zach Parker fight, he wasn't going to take that. It was too low. This is someone who's been getting probably $1 million a fight. He was never going to take $100 grand, $200 grand to fight Zach Parker. I don't know. I'd like to see him fight Charlo, but I don't know. I really don't know where he's going to go. I mean, he's been frustrating. I've always had a lot of faith in him, but he's in his mid-30s now. He's got no promoter. So I really don't know who or where he's going to go. He's already burnt bridges with Top Rank because he was with them before and he left them, if I remember correctly, it was somewhat acrimonious. He could only really go to PBC. 3 Irish fighters and 3 IBO titles. Do you think they can make a show with all 3 of them on the same card, 3 Arena or something? Yeah, that's a good point. Anthony Kakache. You got Patrick McRoy and Dennis Hogan. Dennis Hogan primarily fights in Australia, but I'm sure he'd come home for that. Who are they all with? Well, Kakache is with. Well, you might, because I think Patrick McRoy has fought on some Frank Warren shows. I think he was more with that company, El Chapahan, as was Anthony Kakache. So they could probably do it no problem. Dennis Hogan, I'm sure, would go wherever. So yeah, you probably could. Could I see him doing it? I doubt it. But you never know. Stranger things have happened. Big up to Stu. Heavyweight is dead right now. We need some good fights announced. Mate, you're not wrong there, mate. I mean, we've got Tyson Fury versus Chisora. I mean, that says it all. That really says it all. I mean, you look at the top 15 at WBC. Surely they could have took someone better than that. It's crazy. So, Dylan White versus Jermaine Franklin. You know something? The actual card is looking pretty good. That actual card ain't looking too bad. But that fight, I'm not going to be losing sleep over it. G-Man, Dave Allen versus Tommy Carty would be great. I'd rather not see Dave Allen in a boxing ring, to be honest with you, mate. I really wouldn't. I don't. Dave Allen, nah, man. Dave Allen is just, for me, he needs to stay away from boxing in general. It's not up to me, I suppose, to say what he shouldn't do, but he's been sounding progressively worse over the years. He's taken some beatings. I wouldn't even be surprised, right, if at some point next year, if he has an interim fight and Daniel Dubois gets through his, they'll offer him a money fight and they'll try and say, because they tried to do that before, make Dubois versus Dave Allen, and that really wouldn't be, that really wouldn't go well for him. Stu Ungar, you're from Malahide? No way, man. Obviously, Malahide is only a stone's throw from Swords, so pretty close. If Ellie Drew is on, I would like her to apologise. I would like to apologise to her for my childish jokes last week. Haven't seen Ellie Drew. She's normally first in the building. Will Katie Taylor ever fight in Ireland? That's a good question. I actually genuinely did think she would this year. I thought that there was a few little hints that her next fight, the fight that's happening this week, there was a few little hints before it was announced that it might be in Ireland, but it's not. Obviously, it's in London. Wembley Arena is not a bad arena, to be fair. And it's a nice part of London as well, if you've ever been. But more likely now than it was a few years ago. Now that a certain promotional company is not there anymore, it's not in the business anymore. But maybe. I think I'm gonna stick my neck out and say she will. She probably will. But I think that they want to make it a big event. They won't probably just do a random fight. They'll probably try and get Amanda Serrano again or someone like that. Just seeing Bricktop squirming under questions about the Fury fiasco. Of course he will. Of course he will. He will try. He tried to defend that by saying he was the highest ranked fighter on BoxRec. I mean, come on. You can't take BoxRec rankings. You can't use them. I mean, they're computer based, aren't they? He signed with Wasserman now, so I think they will put him in with Lyndon Arthurs. Could be a Channel 5 show in Ireland. Really? They could do that. They could actually. But you see, Wasserman and Eddie Hearn work very close together. So I think it will be a case of who offers the most money. I mean, Patrick McCrory put himself in a great position to make a good payday with that. And don't get me wrong, I wouldn't pick him over Joshua Buatsi. I wouldn't. But he's definitely a puncher. And Joshua Buatsi, suspiciously, has never been in there with a puncher. Very suspicious. You know, when you look at some of the not just Eddie Hearn, you could probably say it about most fighters who are with, like, say, Frank Warren and all. When they've been pro so long, but you've never seen them in with a puncher, and they're so far in their pro career, you got to kind of ask questions. Why is that? Is it true Banana Biker Boy is friends with Usyk? Don't even know who that is, mate. Where are we? There we are. Massive salute to G-Man and the chat. Hope everyone is well. G, any big predictions for 2023? Mine are we will get Spence versus Crawford. Usyk will defeat Fury and Canelo will lose. Interesting. Right, big picks. My predictions, they can go one of two ways. I agree with you. I think that Spence Crawford will happen next year. I don't think Usyk beats Fury and Canelo losing. I'm going to say no, he won't lose. What's a big prediction I'm going to go for? I'm going to say Artur Beterbiev loses next year. But I'm not necessarily saying that in the yard. But if he's active, he loses. Because I don't trust Artur Beterbiev's body to get him through it. Have you tried to get on Tyen's show? No, actually. I must actually reach out. I wouldn't go on his show. I'd get him on here. Must reach out to him about that sometime. Wadley versus Gorman. How do you see it going? It's a good question. I was actually hoping someone would ask me that. Yeah, I think it's a good fight. I'm actually, that to me is a very good, the undercard isn't bad for that fight, for that card, mate. I mean, Craig Richards versus Bolotnik is going to be a good fight. It's going to be a very good fight. In terms of Wadley versus Gorman, I would be picking Fabio Wadley personally. I don't trust Nathan Gorman. I'll elaborate more on that in review of the week, to be honest with you. But I think Nathan Gorman, I've never rated him that highly, but he's definitely got he's got ability there. But there are certain things that we know what Nathan Gorman is. We know what we're going to get, but I don't trust him. Put it like that, and I don't mean in the sense of tell him a secret, and I mean like in terms of him to come in shape and give it all. Lerone Richards has finally announced as a fight announced. He's very talented, but his career has been managed so poorly over the years. He's missed out on so many good opportunities. Yeah, I've seen that. And very good by Boxer and Sky. You know, we were really in a bit of a predicament where we had 3 shows all in the same city, all on the same night. And what Sky have done is they've moved their show to Sunday, and it's a daytime show. So it's going to be from 3 to 7, which is great, which is fine. Like that to me, perfectly happy with that. And it's a decent show. I mean, he's fighting Zach Chelly. He should beat Zach Chelly. And we have Adam Azim versus Ryland Charlton. There's another fight on that card as well. It's slipped my mind. It's a decent card. It's not bad. I don't think so. Not that I know of. The York Hall put on a lot of fights. I don't recall. I don't recall there being that. I would have thought he would have always had it on. Big up to Nick. AJ, man, I wasn't interested in buying Fury versus Chisora 3. My eldest son is a Fury fanboy. He's brought me a ticket and treated me to a night out. Look, mate, fair play, man. I was looking at it and I was like, but it's December. It's going to be freezing cold. But hey, if you can get to it, mate, enjoy. Enjoy, man. If you can get to it, enjoy. Look, I don't think it's a good fight. I'm not looking to go to it. But a night out is a night out. And at the end of the day, we don't know how many fights. Maybe some people might not see Fury fight in the UK again. So, and look, I'd always say, look, I know it's December. I know it's going to be freezing. But anyone can get to a big boxing show. It is good fun. I'd always say just some people, if they can afford it, just go for the fun. Even if you don't go to anyone else, just go for one. Even if that'd be Fury, go to any fight because it's good fun. Incredibly disappointing to see. Yep, I was really mate, getting ready to fight Avanesian instead of Spence. It has a real thriller vibe, doesn't it? He's fighting on some obscure app that no one's ever heard of, but he's getting crazy money. It has a real thriller vibe, doesn't it? Conlon boxing. Yeah, I seen that. I mean, that is not the opponent I would want Michael Conlon fighting. The guy who just got Garcia, the guy who got knocked out by Jordan Gill. That was a great fight. But this is a guy who's campaigned as low as, I think, Superfly in the last few years. He was knocked out in a round by Lee McGregor only 2 years ago now. That's not the opponent I want Michael Conlon in there with. You think he'd be stepping it up a bit better than that. BoxRec and they are. Like BoxRec, they put guys at number 1 in the rankings ahead of guys who are like champions. And if you beat that guy, you're number 1. Even if you're just, say you're number 15 and you just beat number 1, you're number 1 by BoxRec's rank. It's bizarre. Gee, man, Joe Joyce chin versus Wilder's right hand. What a battle that would be. I think Wilder's right hand wins that battle, mate. To be honest with you, I think that's a fairly easy one. A battle. If Joe Joyce leaves his chin out while Wilder hits it, I think that's only one thing's going to happen. Big up Spicy Curry today. Nice one. Great name. Much love from the States. My prediction, the Zone 2024, no pulls. AJ fades into nowhere land. Do you agree? I can see AJ fading, yeah. I'm not saying I'm necessarily picking it, but if someone said it to me, I'd say, well, possibly, yeah, could very well happen. I'm going to have faith and say the Zone will stick around. Oh, no. Well, actually, oh, no. No, actually, no. No, not Gerald Washington. The hell with that. Who do you think has been the best boxing promoter who was a former boxer themselves? Probably Oscar. Although saying that, wasn't it Richard Schaefer who done most of the work? But Oscar's done some good work with Golden Boy, to be fair. Him and Bernard Hopkins. Yes, if we could make it 50 likes, people, I'd really appreciate that. How many likes are we on? 32. If you could make it 50 likes. I haven't done a stream in a while, and let's keep it going. Will be interesting to see if Kella's Misfit shows are delivering more subscribers than Matchroom in the last quarter. I'd say they probably are, mate, to be honest with you, which is a damn indictment, really, when you think about it. But there's a market for YouTube boxing. There is a market for it. People love it. People absolutely love it. If BoxRec had Campbell 5th, I mean, Jesus Christ, there you go, like, prime example. Doesn't mean he's going to win a British title. Somewhat Chisora doesn't mean he's eligible. Yeah. Mate, I think Crawford's going to win that fight pretty easy. It's just a run out. Like, Avanesian is a solid European level fighter, but Avanesian has gone life and death with an ancient Shane Mosley. He's been beaten soundly by Lamont Peterson. He was stopped by Kabalaskis only in 2018. So every time Avanesian has stepped up to world level, he's lost. So he's very solid and looks very good at European level. But there is a chasm of a gap, especially at welterweight. There is a chasm of a gap between that and going to world level. And then there's Crawford. He's not beating Crawford. Could happen sooner rather than later, mate. Could happen sooner rather than later. You think he'll stop Usyk? Spence beats Crawford. Ryan Garcia beats Tank Davis. I would say Fury points, Spence points, and Tank KO. It's hard to say, mate. It's hard to say. He needs a lot of rehab. He needs a good year. He needs a good year, and then we'll see. G-Man, Oscar Rivas versus Derek Chisora will be a good match. I'd still give that one to Oscar Rivas at this point. I would. I'd favour Oscar Rivas at this point. The white card was meant to have Jamie Mitchell versus Nia Hughes on it. Now it's been moved to the show in Dubai on the same day. That would have been interesting. That would have been interesting. I hope so. I hope so. I hope we do. Who do I think we'll see him in there with in 2023? If Dylan White doesn't get the AJ fight, I reckon they'll do anything. They'll do everything in their power to make that fight. I reckon they will. But am I going to hold my breath and see it? Probably not. But I reckon they'll try and do Dylan White. Well, they're going to have to, mate. They're going to have to, because I think they were really banking on the Dylan White-Tyson Fury fight being the one people wanted to see. So I think they're going to have to pull out all the stops. I mean, you've got Daniel Dubois, which is a good co-main, to be fair. They're going to probably... look, if I was Frank Warren, I don't know the ins and outs, but I would put Dennis McCann on there. If Anthony Yards, just feed him a cream puff on the November 19th show and get him out on this card. At least get some names and maybe do that. Put Dennis McCann on it. Who else are you going to put on it? He'll put Isaac Lowe on it, of course. That's Fury's bosom buddy, so he'll obviously be on it. Put Paddy Donovan on it as well, because Paddy Donovan's a good fighter. I think he works with Frank Warren and Bob Arum. Leo Jumid on the 27 card. 2 really good fight like these next gen shows from Boxer, 50-50. Some great. It's a really good card. I was wondering who he said. I was thought that was a fighter's name. It's a really good card. AJ versus Washington, that's true. Haven't heard anything, but it wouldn't surprise me. Katie Taylor versus Michaela Meyer. You think it sells out Crow Park? Who do you think wins? Katie Taylor probably wins that. Do I think it sells out Crow Park? Probably. Yeah. She's massive over here. Probably would. I'd say Yard should have fought on that Crawford Spence card. What? There's no Crawford Spence card. Instead of that card in Telford, the American audience would have been able to see Yard's ability, missed opportunity. They'll probably put him on something. Big up to Nick. Appreciate it. I didn't see that come true. Thank you for the £5. Smash the like button. Yes, please. And it's not a long one tonight because there's a race on. The F1 is on at 8 this evening in Texas. I gotta watch that. It's not a long one. Oh, I was wondering. I was like, what? That's something I'm missing. I think White versus Crawford could be better. Could be better as a co-main on some card. Yeah, they're looking to just build Dylan White back up after that. What 3 fights would you most like to see in 2023? Crawford Spence, straight away. Crawford Spence, Fury Usyk. It's not going to happen. I know it's not going to happen. But Wilder AJ, it's not going to happen, but I'd love it if they did that. Ever thought of starting the Discord? I have thought about it, but I don't know. I only use Discord to get thumbnails. I only log on to it now and again to get thumbnails. I spend more time on Elements than I do on Discord, to be honest. I now see a realistic way for the zone making money in their market. Shut down Italy and Spain already. Hearn will be done soon. I see now realistically way of the zone making money in any of their markets. Shut down Italy and Spain already. Hearn will be done soon. I'm struggling a bit with that one. Oh, I give that one to Chantel Cameron. Definitely. I didn't know if they are. I didn't know. And salute to Jamie. Big up to you, my man. How are you keeping? I hope you're keeping all good, man. I hope you're keeping well. Appreciate you dropping by. Big up to G, man. Big up. Yeah, no, Lara won last night. It was a good knockout as well. I would love to see. Well, Eddie Hearn has mentioned that they're going to still try and do him against Lee Wood. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it, but we could be in a situation where instead of seeing Josh Warrington and Lee Wood, we see Mauricio Lara versus Luis Alberto instead, because I think that both fighters stand a real high chance of losing. I have a bit more faith in Josh Warrington coming through his, to be honest with you, but it's a real tough one. They hold the football rights in Italy and Spain, so unlikely they will shut them down. Ah, really? Okay, well, he won't be on okay. That's a good card in of itself, John Ryder. I just so annoyed. Like, why in God? Why? You put them on the same night? Like, seriously, mate. AJ isn't fighting Washington. Big up to E-Machine. Is the Jake Paul train getting derailed by Silva? I think there's a high chance Silva beats him. I don't know. I don't mind Jake Paul too much, but I've not really looked into that fight too much, to be honest with you. Definitely won't do a watch along. No way. But we'll see. I'm surprised G-Man doesn't have a dedicated F1 channel. I've thought about it, mate. I've thought about it a few times. Maybe someday. Maybe we will someday. I've thought about it a few times now, mate, to be honest with you, because I know a lot about it. I've watched F1 my whole life since I was a kid. I don't know. I've thought about it. But right now, we're happy with this. Predictions on the next 3 UK fighters to leave Matchroom. I'm thinking Cash, probably. Okoli. I'm surprised he's not already. Ellie Scottney. Yeah, it wouldn't shock me if she left, to be honest. Long shots are, but nah, I think Warrington, I'd say, is secure. I'd say he is. Bawatsi, hard to tell. Hard to tell with him. Is there any decent Irish versus Irish fights cards that can be made? Yes and no. So, like, there's a card on in November, end of November in Belfast, and there's a couple of Irish and Irish fights on it, but they're quite low level. So, like, Irish level would probably be area level, maybe a little bit above it in terms of the British scene. So a lot of the fighters aren't great, but a lot of the fights do actually entertain you and they do catch fire. There was a card up in Belfast last month. Eric Donovan fought on it, and it wasn't just an all-Irish fight, but they were both from the same county. They're both from Cavan. And that fight actually was pretty good. It was fought by a guy called Dominic Dunnigan and Owen Duffy. I'm sure you can find it on YouTube. Both guys ended up getting dropped in the fight. And it was actually quite a good scrap. And I think it was Owen Duffy ended up winning by knockout. And both guys are pretty low level, but it was still good fun. So they are doing those kind of cards. And the card up in Belfast in November, and I think it's 26th of November, that has a lot of all-Irish fights on it. But again, they're low level. In terms of higher level Irish fights, I mean, there's not really many high level Irish and Irish guys if you think about it. You know, and a lot of them will be mates. Like a good example would be you could do like a Tyrone McKenna versus someone Gary Cully. They train in the same gym. They're never going to fight one another. I think they're mates as well. Lee Wood don't want that smoke. Oh, yeah. I was wondering when you said that. That's cool. Lara will absolutely starch Lee Wood. Alberto beats Warrington. I don't necessarily think that he'll starch Lee Wood, but I think it'll be a war. And I don't know about if Alberto beats Warrington. I'm not going to necessarily pick him. Katie Taylor, will she ever have a gig in Ireland? Put money on it, I'll say yes. I'd say before it's all said and done, she'll have a run out in Ireland, in the Republic. Things are beginning to go quiet on the Ben controversy. Do you think they'll gradually try to bury it under the bus? No. I don't think. A part of me would have thought that, but when the fact that casuals turned on Eddie Hearn, I think that's still. I don't think that's gonna. I think it's gonna. We're gonna see a lot now this next Saturday on the Katie Taylor card, how they react. Which division reckons needs a real kick up to you know what? Middleweight and cruiserweight are really poor at the minute. Yeah, middleweight is kind of Middleweight, realistically, for the last few years, hasn't been great. Cruiserweight, we went through a stage in cruiserweight, and I think this always happens, where you just get, it's like, what is it? What are those things called? I can't remember now what it's called, but it just keeps churning out good fighters. You know, we had Briedis, Garcia, Dorticos, Lebedev, Usyk, Hook. Who else did we have? Kudryashov. Oh, we had loads of good fighters. Makabu, Machunu, Bellew. There's 10 fighters in like 2016. All of them were active in the cruiserweight division. Just imagine that. That's never going to last. So you got to imagine when a lot of them move up or retire, it tends to be the case that the new kids in the block aren't the best. But cruiserweight, it's not a terrible division. It's still pretty good. I need to see how Loma looks this week before I make a pick on that. If it's the Loma who fought Nakatani, he beat Haney. But I don't know. I'll need to see. Hey, G, man, I saw the great Ayrton Senna twice at Silverstone. Crazy. Something I'd like to have seen. I've never actually been to an F1 race, funny enough. That's how I will eventually, but not right now. I don't know if I'd like to go to Silverstone. I hear it's hard to get in and out of Silverstone. I'd rather go to somewhere like Spa or Monza or somewhere like that. Or Zandvoort. That actually looks like a fun place to be. What happened with Cody and Cash? They seem stuck, not fighting at all. Yeah, I think they want to get out of their contracts, but well, obviously Cash was just unlucky in a sense of he was meant to fight on the Eubank Ben undercard, but we know what happened there. Cody just doesn't see like nothing. There's literally nothing being mentioned about him. I think he really PO'd Eddie Hearn with those comments. I think he really PO'd Eddie Hearn with them comments. Why do you always criticize Lewis Hamilton? Because he's a clown. Simple as. He's a great driver, but he's a clown. Dylan Moran versus Paddy Donovan in the works, apparently. Paddy Donovan wins that. Paddy Donovan wins that fight. Paddy Donovan is very talented. Dylan Moran, has he ever fought a welter? I don't think he ever fought a welter. Putting on a daytime show on Sky makes no sense. Yeah, that was the one thing. You'll have football on the Sunday. On the Sunday. I'll admit that. That's not ideal. It's not ideal. But will the World Cup be on? No. Will it? No, probably they still have championship games. It's not ideal, but I suppose for them it's a case of damage limitation. Do we do that, or do we just take a shellacking against BT and DAZN because the shows are just better? Have you seen Thomas O'Toole fighting? The name rings a bell, but I actually can't put a picture on him. I think he could be Colm Ireland's best fighter, future Irish great GOAT. Middleweight is frustrating as hell. GG will retire. It's not realistic have any more fights. I don't think he should stick around. You're probably talking about knowledge Italy are probably DAZN's best markets due to, yeah, you would have thought that. Cruiserweight sometimes ends up being off for 6 years because Lowe's got a heavyweight for the money. Yeah, that's exactly it. You know, I remember Holyfield was saying that once, that he was on a card and he was fighting a cruiserweight. He was getting 100 grand defending a world title. And I think he said there was guys fighting non-title at heavyweight and they were getting $1 million. And they were like, that's the difference between cruiser and heavy. Usyk became undisputed and possibly the strongest era of that division. Right up there at one of them, which puts it, you see, that's the thing as well, which makes it all the more impressive about Usyk. You have to look at who he was fighting. He won it off Glowacki. I forgot to mention him. He beat Glowacki. He unifies against Briedis. And then he unifies again against Garcia. All the while, he fights Marco Huck. Michael Hunter was around at the time. Tabisa Machunu. I mean, honestly, when you look at it, if I was to do a career review of Usyk, he literally cleared the division. Now, the only person he didn't fight was Dorticos. And Garcia beat him, knocked him out. That division was absolutely on fire. And Usyk cleaned it out. It's not like he was cleaning out against guys who were significantly worse than him. They were like Those guys were good, man. It's crazy. I reckon they're going to sit on that title and see what happens with Fury Usyk. So it wouldn't shock me if they get someone. I'm just trying to think. A Chris Arreola or someone like that wouldn't shock me. They get someone maybe is a name, but is not gonna trouble Joe Joyce. Zone Spain shows there were no more of the zone boxing events. Oh yeah, well they don't put them on any really these days. Do you see Probellum being around for much longer? Yeah, Probellum was a weird one, wasn't it? Well, they're still around, but they came so aggressive onto the market, putting on all those shows, signing all them fighters. Then, well, apparently they're not associated with that company, but when that company went belly up, Probellum just went like that. Well, they're still putting shows on, obviously, but I don't know how good they're going to be. I'm not. I don't know. You mean Matchroom, not the Zone? Yeah, I'm sure the Zone will stick around, but no, there's a boxer called Dylan Moran. Spot on about Hamilton, yeah. There is a break for football when the Sunday boxing show is on. There you go. It's a good timing. Millie is F1. Yes, it is. It's a sport. Lewis Hamilton is 2 F1. That basically it. That you're exactly right. Like Lewis Hamilton, right? For those who don't know, those idiots who are those oil protesters got on the track at Silverstone, and only there was a big crash at the first corner. They would have put their lives and the drivers' lives in serious danger because they were on one of the straights. So if there wasn't a red flag for a big crash, those cars would have drove by them at full speed, God knows 180, 190 mile an hour, and it would have put the driver and the people at risk. And Lewis Hamilton defended that. Can you imagine? This is someone who said we need safety, and he defends that. He's an idiot. The G-man. Football rights are expensive. Who knows if the Zone market... I'd say the Zone would love to get more football rights on stuff like that. Yeah, that'd be actually a good show. Bacoli versus... Bacoli would have been a better show than Chisora, mate. Is no one talking about Ben's heated seats now? Or what? Now, we could talk, just no one's mentioned them. But it's not really been much more news coming out about it, to be honest with you, mate. It's not really been much more news. Bit of a late one, Evening G-Man. Anyone catch the... I just caught the main event. I saw Lara do his thing. Tremendous puncher, as I will say. Has anyone saw Emperor Michael yet? Or is he in Porky's basement? Fury will fight and beat Usyk April 2023 and still will not get any credit. He could beat Wilder, AJ, yeah. He'll get credit for beating Usyk. Big up to Joe Stunner boxing every single time. Where are we at? Usyk winning every fight as the away fighter is an incredible achievement. That has never been done before and probably never will again. Yeah, I mean, the fact that he went into the backyard of a lot of people and never even, like, he was beating them so handily, even if it was a decision, you couldn't even question who won. Like, he went to Russia to fight Garcia. Because remember, that fight was meant to be in Saudi originally, and they moved it to Garcia's hometown in Moscow. Once Fury unifies titles, will he get more credit? You don't hand out medals before a race. Who will be the breakout star in 2023? Good question. I'm liking more and more Adam Azim. I am. He's got a good fight against Ryland Charlton coming up, which I'm really looking forward to seeing that. So he may. Breakout star. You see, I know a lot. We would know who Boots Ennis is. But the average, probably casual, if you mention to a kind of casual, welterweight, they know Conor Benn, they might even know Crawford and Spence. If you say Boots Ennis, who? He needs to have a breakout. I think he will, because he's talented as hell. Will Crawford fight Avanesian and Spence staying on the sides until they fight? Crawford have more advantage? Yes and no. There's talk of Spence fighting Stanionis, so that would negate that. But I think that Crawford is getting older. You know, he is. So that's a worry. Yes. I mean, wow. Later this year, but completely unknown in the UK. He will probably not even be televised. Bit odd, isn't it? All the promoters, if Hearn was all about the promoter, if Hearn was involved. That's sad, the fact that it probably won't be televised here in the UK, but I mean, that is just such a one-sided fight. He is going to get absolutely annihilated by Naoya Inoue. Yeah, he is. He is. And I think more people are starting to realize that now, you know, because he is just so, oh, he is. I remember when Hamilton came into the sport, I was just like, there's something off about him. And he was only, how old was I when Lewis Hamilton came into the sport? I would have been about 14. And I was just like, there's something so off about his personality, his demeanor. And the older he's got, the worse he's got. 108 in the build, and smash the like button, please do. I don't know. I don't know what he's going to do next, to be honest with you. As part of me suspects he's just going to stick around at 168, maybe bring Bivol down there and wait and see what happens. Maybe see how Beterbiev looks against Anthony Yarde. If Anthony Yarde beats Beterbiev, you know Canelo will take that fight. I can't believe Lewis Hamilton would defend that. The guy is a complete robot. He's not. No, he's not. He's an idiot. He's not. Lewis Hamilton, right, is a guy who is always trying to. I remember there was a while he used to be like, oh, I'd like to be remembered as Muhammad Ali, where he's like the antithesis of Muhammad Ali. You know, he says that he doesn't like F1 racing in Saudi Arabia because it goes against human rights, but he's happy to race there. Like, he won't, like, if Lewis Hamilton wanted to get that off the calendar, if he's one of the most, maybe even the most famous F1 drivers, he has such a sway. If he actually boycotted one of them events and said, I'm not racing there, that would do more to try and get that off the calendar than just complaining about it, but still happy to race there anyway. So, you know, there you go. But if you, and look, that track in Saudi Arabia is fun. It's fun to watch. But that's why I like Max Verstappen. He just gets on with it. With him, it's just about racing. He wants to race. He's fun to watch. And he seems a cool guy. Whereas Lewis Hamilton, it's never ended with him. The fools, yeah, those guys. And they got in the middle of the hangar. It was the hangar straight. No, it was the Wellington straight. One of the longest straights on the track. With cars. And had there not have been a red flag, so the cars had to slow down before they got there, had that crash not happened, those cars would have been driving right, and because cars on the first lap will jockey for position. So they would have been driving towards people. And those cars are crash tested. They're not crash tested to hit people. So they could have got themselves killed and potentially the drivers. And Lewis Hamilton defended that. Imagine Avanesian beat Bud. No, he's not beating him, but oh yeah, Frank Warren. I wouldn't pick him, but I think he'd do it. I think he'd surprise a lot of people. He'd win rounds. Do you think Wilder took that substance he talked about to have an enlightenment? I wouldn't rule it out. I've never taken a substance like that myself, and I don't think I ever would. But do I know? I don't think I know anyone who has taken it. Off the top of my head, I don't think anyone I know has ever taken the substance he's on about, or any hallucinogenics, truth be told. But I've no reason to doubt him. He definitely seems a little bit more, he just seems different. And maybe that is a result in terms of his personality, his demeanor. He's not as, I don't know, he just doesn't have that kind of same bad energy that he used to have, where he was always talking about catching bodies and talking like that. I can't wait, you know, like that. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if Chisora hurts here. People say Usyk couldn't beat Chisora handily, but they forget Chisora hurt Usyk or hurt Fury a few times in their first fight. Maybe Ben Whittaker. We need to see how he gets on. I think he needs to cut down a bit of the showboat. If you look at B sample, the generally take 2 months to appear. Apart from White's It's in Lord Lucas's top pocket. If you look at UCAD's court documents, it seems to be like a 2 to 3 month gap. Hey G man, how are you doing? Big up to Sean. I'm good, man. I'm good. No. He won't be in the ring this year. I'd say it's going to be, might even be next summer before we see him back in the ring. They're going to take their time. Boots has pretty much had a wasted year. Yeah, I know, and that's sad, mate. That's sad. There's so much talent with him. I don't think Boots is signed to any major promoter though. That's the only thing. He needs, and I honestly, like, if I was a promoter, I'd be like, how much do you want? You know, I think he's got great potential. Joshua versus White is bigger than Chisora. I'd rather see that, to be honest. What happened to the PBC? Bankrupt? I don't know. I don't know what's going on with them. Hit the like, smash the like button, people. Smash the old like button. Try and get the algorithms to be kind. Get the old channel up to 10k. That's the goal still. We got plenty of time to get there. Need to hit 250 subscribers each month, and I've got there by the end of the year. Boom. Yeah, that's true. And the second fight, Fury thumped Chisora in the eye, was probably on PEDs too. Yeah, I don't think it's right either. I can get why he is, because probably he's not signed to any major promoter, so he has to, because he's not probably making any money just fighting small hall fights. But Ryan Charlton has potential there, and it is a bit sad to see it kind of, he's being used as the away fighter. So they're saying February 4th, possibly in Scotland. Joe Joyce could be the man in 2023 if he gets the opportunity. Probably won't get a title shot though. Now, he might get elevated. That'd be interesting. Oh, that'd be an interesting scrap. I'd love to see that fight. Joyce versus Hunter. Charlton, not a bad fighter at all. Needs a big push from a top promoter. Could be British material. Exactly. I don't think Canelo is past his best necessarily, but I think that there could be a chance that he's just maybe just jaded and needs a good rest. Who would I rather spend an evening with? Oh, Jesus. That's like, I don't know. I really don't. I'd probably say, oh, man. I'd probably say Bellew, to be honest with you. Lewis Hamilton is just, as much as I dislike Bellew, I probably feel a bit comfier with him than Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton is just strange. He's a good fighter, but not being built correctly. Seems fake. God bless G-Man. Yes. Where we go? Where we at in the chat? Did Mike Tyson take it? He say, did Mike Tyson take it? Did he say he'd seen a frog-like creature? I've never heard the story about Mike, but it wouldn't surprise me if he has. People are making out Usyk Chisora to be, no, that wasn't a close fight. Usyk won that fight handily. To return to the ring, Fury did so much stuff and blamed it on depression. I can't see Ben doing that. Do you think Jensen Button would have been more successful than Hamilton if he had the Mercedes car? Mate, like, at the end of the day, Lewis Hamilton's a great driver. He's tremendous. And I think he's better than Jensen Button ever was. But if you have the best car, half the job is done. When he had a teammate like Rosberg, who could push him every step of the way and could beat him, well, it was harder. But then when he had a teammate like Bottas, it was easy. And he had the best car. So, you know, it's that way inclined. He's a great driver. Do I think he's as good as Michael Schumacher? No. Do I think he's even as good as Senna? No. But he's definitely top 3, top 5 at least. Spence will break Crawford when they fight. Ennis can crack. He'll lose too, but it'll be competitive. No, I don't think Ben Whittaker is a hype job. I definitely don't think he is. The Conor Ben gate made me turn away from boxing to MMA. Like and share, more importantly, subscribe. 10k by Christmas. That is the goal, man. That is the goal. 10k by Christmas, and man, I will be so happy. Dublin in my heart. Great name. Did you watch Paddy McCrory last night? Who would you match him with? I did. I seen a very good performance. Again, it surprised me. I didn't think he would. Going into it, I didn't think he would win. So very happy with his performance. Looked devastating. Looked good at light heavy. Looked strong. I would say that Eddie Hearn might be looking at that and thinking, hang on a minute, Joshua Boazzi get an IBO title as well. We'll have that. We'll have that. Someone mentioned that he's working with Wasserman now. So there's a good chance he could fight Lyndon Archer as well. So there's two good fights for Paddy McCrory. Look, he's definitely, look, I never really read, I remember watching him a couple of years ago against Steve Collins Jr., and he didn't look particularly good in that fight, but he got the job done. And I thought, okay, if you're going life and death with Steve Collins Jr., that's really not a good sign, because Steve Collins Jr. he's not even area level. So if you're going life and death with him, it's not good. But he's improved massively since then. Second channel getting good views. Still working hard on that, man. It's just a lot of time. There's a lot of work and a lot of time involved. Yeah, that was a great year. Yeah, it's not an easy choice. It's not a choice you'd want to have, but I would take, at least with Bellew, I could talk about boxing. He knows a bit about boxing. Whereas Hamlet is just like, oh, God. Evening, G-Man, evening. Yeah, it was a good performance by Patrick. When you coming to England again? Probably not this year, mate. Probably next year, early next year. If the fight gets made, I might try and get to Yard versus Beterbiev. If the fight gets made, I might try and get to that. I'd love to get over, even for a couple of days, even to go to a show as a fan before the end of the year. Any show, even a small hall show. But I don't know what way work is going to be and stuff like that. So, because I'm starting a new job soon, and I don't know what way it's going to be with holidays and stuff like that. So, it's funny, right? I'm starting a new job next week. Not this week coming, the following week. But unbeknownst to me, was that after I accepted that, I got a call for another place to go for a job interview. And this is the job I really want. And this week I should know if I have that one or not. So I'm in a bit of a dilemma here where it's like, I could be starting a new job next week, or I could be telling that new job, sorry, I don't want your job, I'm taking this other one instead. It's a kind of a good dilemma, if you know what I mean. Because I hate the job I'm in now. I can't wait to get out of the place. Finish this week, thank God. And yeah, it's a bit of a good dilemma though. In the eye and Batterdam fighting Southpaw. Usyk has absolutely no chance against Fury. I wouldn't say he's got absolutely no chance. What would you do with Liam Smith? It's a good question, mate. He's been looking better as of late, hasn't he? Honestly, like if I was Ben Shalom, I'd be like, Eubank. You versus Eubank. I'd probably pick him over, or Dan Aziz. That's actually a good shout there. Dan Aziz, that's a real good shout. I probably would pick him over Lyndon Archer too. They'll probably find him. That's what I reckon they'll do. That they usually find them. They're not going to mess around with last season's championship or anything like that. It's been nearly a year. They're not going to do that. So they'll probably find them, give him a big fine, slap him on the wrist. Don't do that again. So I'd say I wouldn't say anything bad is going to come to that. I wouldn't say it's anything more than probably a big fine, but probably just a fine. That's what I reckon will happen with the Red Bull situation. I know, yeah, and he's selling 60% T-shirts now. Eubank has always been a character not liked by the boxing fans, but ever since the Conor Benn thing, people love him. It's weird, like Eubank Jr. when he has he could. That's why I'm saying get him in there with Liam Smith now. Get him in with Liam Smith now because fans want to see Eubank now. So put him in a fight now and you'll do numbers. Put him in with a fight, you'll do numbers. People want to see him now. What's your best boxing movie? I've got two. Raging Bull and Cinderella Man. Cinderella Man's probably my favourite. I love Cinderella Man. That's a great movie. Russell Crowe, Renee Zellweger. Brilliant movie. There's also a movie from the 50s. 50s or 60s. I think it might be the 50s called The Harder They Fall. I think the main character is based on Primo Carnera. But if you can find a copy of it on YouTube, go and watch it. It's a good movie. Who would you say is the greatest F1? Michael Schumacher. Michael Schumacher. And that's it. Yeah, he is. Eubank, man, he knows how to do it. He's managed himself well. He's managed himself real well. Big up. Cinderella Man is brilliant movie. It's a great movie. Yeah, that's my favorite too. Yeah, Cinderella. It kind of goes under the radar because, like, you say it to people, and not many people have seen it. But I remember watching it the first time, and I was like, "This is a great movie," because I knew about Jim Braddock already. And if you go on YouTube and you type in Jim Braddock Cinderella Man, there's kind of like it's like a movie. It's kind of like it coincides with Cinderella Man. It's different actors, but I forget what it's called, but it's actually quite good. It's got two actors playing Jim and his wife, but it's a bit different to the movie. But it's actually quite good. It's about half hour, 40 minutes. It's on YouTube still. It's really good. You think Fraser Clark has world level potential? British level, yeah. European, yeah. But world level, we'll need to wait and see. I've never seen Southpaw, to be honest. I've never seen it. I did watch. Oh, I can't remember what it's called. It had Mark Wahlberg playing Mickey Ward. I think it's actually called The Fighter. It might actually just be called The Fighter. But that's a really good fight. That's a really good movie. That's a really good movie. Culminates in Mickey Ward versus Shane Erie. And that's a really good movie too. I think that was made in 2010. I'm pretty sure it's called The Fighter. Pretty sure it is anyway. The Harder They Fall is Max Baer, I think. No, it's definitely Primo Carnera is the main. Yeah, Jersey Joe Walcott. He played a character called George. And at one stage he has to, yeah, Jersey Joe was in that. What was the name of the main guy who was in it? Because he's actually a well-known actor. But I can't remember his name. What is it? I'll get that for you now. Give me a sec. I'll see if I can find his name. The Harder They Fall. Who was the guy who was in it? It was Humphrey Bogart. That was his name. Yeah, he was in that. Humphrey Bogart. Yeah, there we go. Do I rate the Creed films? I've never seen any of them, mate, to be honest with you. Never watched one. For some reason, what is StreamYard doing? It's not letting me. There we go. G-Man, did you watch the UFC last night? No, man, I never really. I don't watch much UFC. I don't watch much MMA. I actually watched boxing last night. I watched Patrick McCroy last night. And then F1, the qualifying was on late, so I watched that instead. Bleed for This Is Good. Never seen that. Always loved Eubank Jr. I love that he's always himself. I never really minded Eubank too much. So I kind of saw him as a Marmite character. There was times I liked him. There was other times I was just like, eh. But I always enjoyed watching him. It's never a chore to watch him. Never a chore to watch Eubank Jr. fight. Except for the Marcus Morrison fight. I think that for me was kind of like you were waiting for it to catch fire. It never did. AJ World Tour, Dempsey McLean in Australia, Zhang in the Far East or Middle East, White in the UK. That's a good shout there. It's a good shout there. Zhili Zhang in the Far East. Do it in Macau maybe. Because Bob Arum used to put shows on in Macau. Thoughts on Kurt Walker, Karen Molly? Do you rate them? I haven't seen either of them yet. So I can't speak on that. I haven't really seen it. What a finish from Israel Makhazov. Do you think they'll ever bring out another boxing game? They're always on about bringing out this new e-sport game, but I kind of don't. I don't really play much games these days, to be honest with you, mate. And boxing games, I never really enjoyed them, truth be told. I never really enjoyed. Like, I played the EA Fight Nights, and they just didn't play right. I never liked how they played. They always play very awkward. So, long and the short of it, nah, I wouldn't. I don't really know. I wouldn't be buying it. But like that, I wouldn't be buying it. Knocked them out cold, then choked them out. Damn. UFC, they don't play around. In MMA in general, they don't play around. All right, peeps, I've just gone over the hour mark. And the reason why I'm going to end it here is I want to get sat down and ready for the race in Austin. Because I love it. I love me some racing. So I'm going to call it here, record a review of the week, and upload that in the morning. So we got that. I'm working from home all this week as well. So it means that if there's any news, straight to it. I mean, straight on it. Straight on the news. So I think we will call it here. It's been good fun tonight, lads. Been good fun tonight. We enjoyed this. Enjoyed it tonight. Only planned on doing 45 minutes. We're doing over the hour. 116 in the building. People, on the way out, if you could, smash the like button. Help your boy out. For now, lads and lassies, I'm going to call it quits. Take it easy, peeps. There you go. Peace.